And he was like, $100,000. And I literally pounded my hand on the table and said, fuck that, I'm going back to Florida because I can make this movie down there for $10K. And that was exactly what I did.
Oh, where am I? Crap.
It's the Hey, You Made Your Movie Show, hosted by Carl Diamond.
I'm Carl Diamond. I'm your host. I gotta do this in one take. I don't know how much battery I have left on this phone. As you can see, I'm stranded out here in the high desert. You can ask yourself, how the hell did you get here, Carl? I got kidnapped by people who wanted my stimulus check. And they realized they only had $1,200 and that's nothing, wasn't worth their time. But it worked out okay because it fits with the theme of this week's movie, which is kidnapping. See, I had the opportunity to speak with a filmmaker by the name of Michael LiCastri, a guy out of Florida, who recently put out his debut feature film, Best Laid Plans, which will go right here. Michael had a lot of really interesting things to say. It's the first time talking to someone who's self-financed, who put only their money into the project. So if you're looking to self-finance your first feature, this is the interview for you. So, without any further ado, here is the trailer for Michael LiCastri's Best Laid Plans.
How the hell is that even possible? Tommy Booth won the lottery.
No, that's not possible.
Yeah, it is. Of all the miserable assholes that could have possibly gotten rich, Tommy Booth had to be the one that did.
But we can't just turn to a life of crime just because we can't find jobs.
Why not? Think the assholes in DC and on Wall Street who steal from people like us aren't criminals?
Did they ask you about why you're buying all of that stuff?
Nope.
They didn't even ask for your mom's maiden name?
No, they didn't ask me anything at all. They just handed me a deli weapon and took my money.
I love America.
All right, so we meet at my place one final time to go over everything before we head out, right?
That's the plan. Go home and get ready for tomorrow. By the time we're done, Tommy Booth won't know what hit him. Shotgun!
Really? Did you really just yell shotgun before a kidnapping?
I've never met anyone in my whole life that talks as slow as they walk, low ass.
Kiss my ass, Jimmy.
Can't wait.
Hey, he's about to head into that alley.
Let me tell you something. The next time you interrupt my episode of Buffy, you and me are gonna have a problem. You understand me?
Yeah, I hear you. Why do I have a bag that says academic financial services tied to my head?
You can read that from in there?
What do I call you guys?
I'm Danny DeVito.
Ice Cube.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You guys just made up those code names, like right now, didn't you?
You have until 7 a.m. to agree to march into a bank and withdraw $150,000 from us.
Will you stop stepping on the same foot?
What are you guys gonna do with your share of the money?
I think I'm going to go back to school. Over the past few days, I realized that I don't want to be a PE teacher anymore.
I know you're on a roll.
So thirsty. Oh, and Michael LiCastri. Hey, you made your movie.
How you doing, Carl?
I'm doing good, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I also want to give you credit for getting my name right on the first try. A lot of people think I'm like a relative of Fidel Castro, so they can get a lot of LiCastro. So the fact you got it right on the first time, I'm impressed.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's the little things, right?
Yes.
So you're out in Florida, right?
I am. I'm in the Tampa area.
Tampa. Oh, nice. How is it out there today?
Today, it has been rainy the entire day. We've gone full Seattle at this point. 4 a.m, there's just a massive storm that came through, and it's just been kind of gray and crappy the entire day.
Perfect beach weather, right?
Yeah. We're not Jacksonville, so.
I have family out in Florida. I think I have a relative out by Tampa, and I think I have someone like my uncle lives in Orlando. I think.
Oh, it's where I went to school.
How is the school? How is the school system in Orlando? Is that where you went to grade school? Or is it a film
No,
school?
I went to UCF.
Oh, UCF. Okay.
Yeah, I did my undergrad there.
What did you study there?
Film.
Film?
Film and psychology.
That's a fun double. Was that a double major or a major and a minor?
It was a major and a minor, but I was 3 classes away from being double major, and it wasn't like laziness on my part. It's that Florida prepaid was too cheap to pay for the rest of my classes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was literally like, oh, there's no money left, and I'm like, fucking really? Like all the stuff we waste out here, like you can't 3 more classes. So yeah.
I could have a whole podcast on the inefficiencies of this college university systems across the country.
No, I could do a whole hour just on UCF, so don't tempt me.
Other than that, how are you doing with the quarantine?
We're good right now, all things considered, with my girlfriend right now. So been here for, a little while, and that's been good. In my day job, I'm a freelance writer editor. So I'm not taking this as hard as some people, like not to sound like a dick, but like I feel like freelance writers and the Amish were both very prepared for this, because there's no, I wake up, I work from home. So like I'm still working out from home. I'm still writing and editing from home. I feel very much like Bane in the third Batman movie. And it's just like you guys are adjusting to this. I was born in this.
You merely adopted the quarantine. I was born into it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Hop back to Florida was it you said Florida State?
No, UCF.
UCF. How was the film program over there?
Oh man, it's kind of like talking about your family. Like there's no easy answer to that question. There are people that I still keep in touch with. Some of my closest friends in the world I met through that program. I have very mixed feelings about the classes themselves. I can't say that I learned a whole ton in the actual film school part of it. What I did and what worked for me was that I made a lot of short films during that time. And so for me, that was my real film school. I know a lot of people that managed to get through the whole program without shooting a second of film or writing anything. And I'm like, what? Exactly. I'm like, why are you here?
How's that work?
Like, if you were going to piss the whole 4 years away, there are other ways to do it. So that was always really strange to me. I really went out of my way to make sure that I could make as many films as possible. I've done theater since I was 8, so I've been involved in the arts for a long time. So I did a lot of theater while I was out there. I hosted a radio show on 4 years for WUCF, which is an NPR affiliate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was all over the place. I was doing stand-up out there. Yeah, the film program, really, you have to work to get the most out. Like, if you're out there, make short films because they're not going to assign a ton of them. And it has to do with the BFA program and the fact that if you're not BFA, you don't get to take directing or editing or producing. The only thing they let you take is writing. That, for me, is a place where I felt really comfortable anyway. So I was like, feed me writing classes. Like, let's do this. So that worked for me. But if you're not a writer and you're just a BA, that's tough. Like there were a lot of classes where you just have to parrot the opinion back of the professor, and that's not really my thing.
No, I had an idea and it just right there in my head, right out the window. So have you been productive during this time?
So every April I set myself a challenge because it's National Comedy Month, and I write a joke a day. So I don't do that throughout the rest of the year, but I always do it every April. I've done it, I think this is my 3rd or 4th year now. So I've been writing jokes. I wrote 2 specs in November and December. So I'm not writing any screenplays or features or sketches right now. I am querying the one that I sent out that I wrote in December.
Just to be clear for all the people listening, querying, that is when you go out and you pitch it to people?
Yeah, I've been querying managers specifically, not production companies. So I'm trying to get repped. That's the next phase, that I'm trying to move towards. And as anybody who is repped can tell you, it is a nightmare trying to get there. Like that's the next step after, I made a feature, I've got a stand-up album out. Like, logically to me, that's the next career step. But yeah, writing a lot of jokes, trying to get a manager to read the script. So yes, I'm being productive.
We're talking about jokes. When I was watching the movie, I was thinking that this guy is, first and foremost, he's a comedian.
100%. I'm glad you said that. Really, because yes, I am.
So was it always like that? Were you like that growing up? always making jokes, be entertaining your family members and whatnot?
In high school, I think is where I really kind of caught that bug. Like I started off as an act, like I started acting when I was 8, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
I did theater all throughout the end of elementary school, middle, high school, college. Still do it now when the opportunity pops up. But I think high school was where I was really like comedy. Like, you know, I'm aware of what I look like. Like, so I'm like, if you want to stay in this business, like that seems like a good way to kind of go about it. And then my sophomore year of high school, I was away doing a play, and I came back, and my English teacher had given us this writing prompt. We had an essay assignment, and it was specifically kind of to prove that you could write about anything, right? Just to make a point. And so the prompt was, why is Halloween a conspiracy? And I was like, well, this is fucking stupid. So I decided to lean into it. And I was like, I'm not going to take this seriously. Like, I'm going to do the assignment, but in my quiet, like, honor student kind of way. I was like, this is how I'm going to roll. So what I ended up doing was I wrote, my whole thesis statement was Halloween is a conspiracy because they give out candy for free and it keeps fat people oppressed. I was like, this is my pitch. I'm going to run with this. And I ended up winning. Like, they read my essay out loud, and, like, the teachers laughed and my friends laughed. And I was like, I like this. Like this kind of, I didn't know I was good at this, but maybe I am because I wasn't trying anyway. So I was like, why not throw yourself into this? And then around that time, I saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And that kind of became the gateway drug. Because once I discovered Kevin Smith, like it was over for me. I was like, this guy makes sense. This was the first dude I ever saw who like looked like me, talked like me, and my friend. Like that was a big deal. I had never seen that. And then, you know, I watched The First Evening With, and that was really eye-opening. And then I saw Clerks, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I can make that movie. I know I can make that movie. And I want to say I was like 16 when I wrote my first actual screenplay. And then I've probably written about 15 of them now, 15, 16 features. Some of those have been for clients. Most of them are my own original ideas. And then probably 4 or 5 plays. Like full-length plays, a couple of sketch compilations, I don't know how many sketches and short films, and then, you know, I stand up. So yeah, it wasn't always that way, but it's been that way since at least 2005, 2006.
So when growing up, you've always been in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's I moved to New York for a little bit after college, and I lived in Manhattan for a little while, and then I came back because we have a family friend up there who's a line producer. And I moved up there literally for work, right? Like to take my career to the next step. And I realized after talking to some industry people up there that I was like, I need to make a feature. Like that's the only way forward. And so I talked to him and I was like, how much would it cost for me to self-produce a feature? Because I realized that nobody was going to give me that money. And, you know, I was with my aunt, my uncle, him, and me, and we were sitting in the apartment, and my aunt had made this nice pasta and salad and all this stuff. And he was like, if I called in every favor I had, and I was like, every favor. And he was like, $100,000. And I literally pounded my hand on the table and said, fuck that, I'm going back to Florida because I can make this movie down there for $10K. And that was exactly what I did. I moved back here to further advance my career, as weird as that might sound.
That's actually a great transition into the film. Talking about so 10K, huh? You made it for 10,000.
Production was 10K, and then we spent another 2,500 on post. So the whole thing was 12.5 in total.
Oh wow, that's like nothing.
Yeah, and it's as low budget as we could have possibly made it. I'm super proud of it, not because I made it, but because I don't think when you watch it that it looks that way at all or sounds that way. And I really think that that's a testament to my crew and just how good they are at what they do.
Yeah, it's definitely. What did you shoot on?
A red.
A red?
Red Dragon, yeah.
The camera work, you know, it's comedy, so it's a little simple, but the sound was great.
Yeah.
And it would have been terrible to tell jokes and not have good sound.
Correct. Like I've watched shorts and features where the sound is bad, and like we made this with the goal of getting distribution, which we ultimately did. So like the movie was small, but like we never treated it like this was a student film ever, like not even for a moment. So.
Yeah, no, it feels like you guys had the intention of making it feels like, as I watched your shorts, and you have a lot of the same guys in your shorts that you do in the feature, so it almost seems like a full length version of a short.
Yeah, Those people I like when I work with somebody and they're reliable and they get what I'm doing. I'll bring you back as many times as I can. I like working with the same people. I like having that sort of unaffiliated, group.
Well, you have to build it. You have to build a troupe.
Yes.
It's difficult to start over with a new crew every time.
Yeah.
It's like having a whole bunch. It's like getting a new pirate crew every time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly the way to describe it.
So where did the idea for this film come from? Where did the idea for Best Laid Plans come from?
The idea for the Best Laid Plans came from graduating film school and not being able to find a goddamn job is where it came from.
That makes sense.
It's funny because I wrote the script in 2012 and the movie got made we started shooting in 2016. Our first night of shooting was actually election night. So I'm still scarred from that. In a lot of ways.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, but it was funny to me that years and years later, that script still held up and it still felt really relevant. And I remember when I was trying to figure out what feature to make, I had kind of narrowed it down to 2. And that line producer friend I told you about before said, pick the script that resonates the most with you emotionally about who you are and where you are right now. And I was like, it's this one.
2016 comes around, you're still feeling the script, and that's when production begins.
Yeah, there was a lot of pre-prod. It took us most of 2016 to kind of get it put together, if only because we really needed celebrities. And we were lucky enough to get Linnea Quigley and Edwin Neal, who were both super nice and great to work with. But it took us a really long time to find any sort of talent that was willing to work with the budget that we had.
I noticed that Quigley and Neal were in it. How'd you swing that?
Okay, so I am very lucky that a friend of mine, a wonderful girl named Vanessa Saulnier, happened to know a talent agent in Miami named Marty Marrero, who is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. I can't stress that enough. And she kind of introduced us, and he was like, send me the script. Like, he likes working with newer filmmakers. He was like, send me the script. And he read it, and he really liked it. I had tried to book a number of people. There was a certain comedian that we had tried to book, and I won't say his name, but he read the script twice and really liked it. Decided that he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to play a drug dealer because it would be bad for his reputation. And this was not somebody who's particularly known for doing movies, so it took every fiber of my being to write back what reputation. I didn't because I'm an adult, but in my head it's what I was thinking. And then there was another person in the Kevin Smith universe who I really wanted to get and who I hope to get to work with someday. It's not Kevin. And we tried to reach out to him. And after 6 weeks, his agent wrote me back a 1-sentence email and was like, his appearance fee is more than your budget, like in total. And I was like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting it because it was a day, right? Like we shot them in and out in a day. So that was really complicated. But Marty really liked the script. And essentially, the part that we needed to fill was the one that Ed ended up playing. And originally, it was just a drug dealer, right? He was just a drug dealer. And Marty was like, why not write a part for Linnea? Like, you can get 2 for the price of 1. She wants to do something that's not a horror movie. So he was like, why not write a part for Linnea? Because he'd asked me if there was one for her, and I was like, no. So initially, what was just this kind of stereotypical drug dealer turned into this sort of elderly couple that was supplementing drugs to sell their Social Security, which to me ended up being a better joke than what I originally had on paper. So Linnea's part was not initially even in the script. I wrote it specifically for her. So, and it was supposed to be longer, but we were not able to, we shot all of her stuff, but we weren't able to use all of the footage because the gentleman whose alley we were shooting in became progressively more drunk as the night went on and started yelling at us. And we managed to keep him sedate up until a point, and then eventually, like, we were concerned for our safety, and we were like, we need to get out of here now.
You're shooting in this guy's alley, and as the night goes on, the guy's getting drunker and drunker. Oh, wow. And then eventually got belligerent.
He did. It got so bad that the production assistant who had helped us secure the location, he called her from inside the building, right? And he was screaming so loudly that she's got her phone on speaker so we can hear it, and we can still hear him screaming inside the building.
Oh, man. So what other kind of problems were on the set? I know, your filmmaking is like, if you can think of a problem to go wrong with the set, you'll encounter it.
Yeah. There was another location because we didn't get permits because it's Tampa. Good luck. Like they just don't give them out. So there was another alley that we were shooting in. We managed to get all of the footage we needed for that, but we had gotten permission from the people whose alley we thought it was, and then this woman came from across the street from a restaurant and was like, "This is our alley. You can't shoot here." Men. And the thing was, we didn't have a permit, so if she called the cops, we couldn't call her bluff. Like there was no way around that. So we had all the footage we need. We were able to get everybody out of there, thankfully. At one point, towards the end of the film, obviously a lot of it takes place in a warehouse. And there were people street racing outside the day that we shot that. And so we were having to shoot in between them street racing. That whole warehouse sequence, by the way, we shot in a day.
Oh, wow.
The end of the movie is, we shot that in a day. And so we're having to shoot around people street racing. So that was fun. People showing up late to set, people being difficult, the usual stuff. But a lot of it was stuff we could not have controlled. There was a lot of that. And actually, when I think about it, it could have gone so much worse. And, I'm lucky that it was as smooth as it was. A lot of that had to do with the fact that I had really great friends who let me shoot in their homes and apartments and businesses. And so we were able to control those locations pretty well.
That's great. Yeah, no, because you have a variety of locations. I know shooting in restaurants, unless you have the money for it, is kind of a pain in the ass.
The only reason we were able to do that is because my uncle co-owns a pizzeria, so we got real lucky.
There we go.
I called in every favor. The warehouse is my father's. Like I literally every single location for almost all of them are friends and families' homes or businesses. So a lot of favors got called.
You mentioned at the end of the day, the budget was like, was it like 12,000? 12 and a half?
Yeah.
12 and a half. How did you raise that?
I self-funded.
You self-funded? So you just took your own money?
Yes, I put my own money in, and then a friend gave me my EP, who also composed the score, gave me the remaining $2,500 for finishing funds.
Okay, so you and the composer really?
Yes, yeah.
You're the first one on the show who actually self-funded.
I wouldn't. Here's the thing about that. I did it because I felt like I didn't have a choice. Like one thing I've discovered is nobody is going to take you seriously if you don't make a feature, but nobody's also going to give you a check to make your first feature. So it's really a catch-22. Like it's not something I can recommend, but I also don't know how to tell you to make your first feature without doing it. So it's like that's the honest, ugly truth. I would say don't do it unless you can get names involved, even if they're B-level names. Like we got distribution because of Linnea and Ed, really Linnea. So I would say don't do it until you can get some names involved. If you can make a low-budget horror movie and get even a B-level horror person, you'll get a distribution. You may not get an MG because those are super rare now, but at least you'll get some sort of distribution.
What's an MG?
Minimum guarantee.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really what you're going for.
And that's minimum money back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's them giving you a check for the movie.
Oh, I see.
And please, for the love of God, don't self-distribute. I really can't stress that enough. Please don't self-distribute, because as I understand it, the industry doesn't really care. Like you can do that, and that's great that you made a movie, but like it won't help you advance. And then you end up just being really frustrated because you're like, I did this thing, but nobody's paying attention. So please do everything you can to get a distribution deal, a legitimate distribution deal. And if it's your first time out, get a rep. Get someone to rep you, because you're going to want a friend in your corner that's going to help you navigate and tell you who the real people are and who the sharks are. Because there are so many people wanting to take advantage of first-time filmmakers. Seriously. But that was my experience with that.
Oh man, well that's a huge learning experience right there.
Yes.
Massive, insane. What were the other things you had to learn on set?
Food. And I know that sounds silly, but like when you make shorts, it's not something you think of. You're not necessarily feeding people because you're only shooting for a few hours.
Yeah, you probably got lunch beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a big thing. Scheduling, that kind of stuff, working with a script soup, because again, that's not something you need on a short, really.
But they're great, aren't they?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody, yeah. If you're doing a feature, you really need one. But I was lucky in that I had done like 10 shorts before this. And I wrote, directed, I can has words, wrote, directed, and produced all 10 of them, and I acted in 9 of them. I had had a lot of experience wearing multiple hats before I ever did plan. I've had a lot of people that were like, you started, wrote, directed, and produced the thing? Like, that's nuts, especially for your first time. And I was like, it wasn't easy, but it would have been a lot harder if I had not been practicing for that. So, my influences are Kevin Smith and John Hughes and, to some extent, Woody Allen. Like, guys who all wore multiple... Like, if you're a comedian, that's something that kind of comes to you naturally. You're used to being in multiple places at once because you have to be. You're writing the jokes, you're performing. A lot of times you're booking yourself in the beginning because you don't have a manager and you're looking for every available open mic you can possibly get to. And here in Florida, it's kind of limited.
You see, Florida, I would think there'd be a ton of open mics because it's a kind of a party state in many ways.
Tampa, it depends. We've got a couple around here. The Improv has one that they do, but I'm like 45 minutes away from Tampa. So it's a little bit of a challenge to, go almost an hour to do 5 minutes, Yeah. So you got to pick and choose and be selective there.
That's crazy, 5 minutes. My goodness. But I guess you got to have time for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
To get back into the movie for a little while, I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna read you some of the jokes from the movie, and if you could elaborate on how they came to you or if there's a story behind them.
I would love to do that.
The first joke that really hit me was when they were in the when the boys are in the diner, aka I think your uncle's pizzeria.
It is.
And they're referring to the waitress. And this joke is, I can't believe she went from being the hot girl in high school to the waitress with a 2-year-old kid. Yeah, but now we get our food served to us by a MILF though. How many people can say that? It's like getting to go to the zoo. It's like getting to go to a zoo with a stripper.
What inspired that? A lot of girls I went to high school with are in that situation now. It's what inspired it. A lot of the jokes in the movie either happened to me or someone else I know. So, as weird as it might sound, there's a lot of truth in the film. A lot of those things really did happen.
It's a funny little image.
Yeah, I like the imagery there.
And then there's there's the real quick one where where your character has his regular, the man child, right?
Yeah.
Chicken fingers and White Russian, which is like,
that's real.
That's real.
Where? I had a friend who straight up ordered that at a Buffalo Wild Wings. He ordered a White Russian and then he ordered stuff off the kids menu. And the waitress is like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yes, I meant what I said. That's exactly what I want." And they did it. They brought it to him.
Oh man.
That 100% happened.
What was it? Was it like a special night?
No, that's just what he was in the mood for. He's Canadian, so
I'm sure there's a man-sized chicken tenders plate.
No, he specifically, for some reason unknown to me, wanted the kids meal.
Oh wow!
And that just always stuck with me. Thanks, Steve Flynn.
Oh man, and then there's the whole part where they're thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna become a pimp," which is, I mean, let's set the stage for the people here listening. Our 3 main characters are kind of like 3 guys who have they have good intentions, but they kind of don't have a clue.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to describe them.
Because I got the sense that they were very sheltered middle class kids. And,
yes, they're
it's
super
like,
sheltered middle class kids.
It's almost to the point where it's like, yeah, they're gonna get killed if they try and do anything that they have planned. One guy knows how to make crepes.
Yes, that's Alan.
Your character is excited by this, and he says, "If I was a hooker and I found out a pimp was feeding his girls crepes, I would work for that guy."
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of these women being pragmatic and that they're more pragmatic than we let on, you know? I think a lot of movies treat characters like that as kind of disposable or throwaway. And to me, when I was writing those jokes, I was thinking about, if I was in that position, what would I be looking, you know? So it was really an attempt not to mock the work, but to humanize the people and to mock the people who don't see sex workers as people. They're very sheltered. They don't know what a prostitute would actually want. So to them, they're like, oh, you know, like if there's something remotely nice there, they're not used to grit. They're not used to the streets. That's the whole point of the movie. The movie doesn't work in any other way. So that's why, because they needed to sound like they knew nothing about it. And they don't. They completely don't. They are sheltered, middle-class college graduates in every sense of the word.
Following up that scene, the guy who won the lottery.
Tommy.
They're following Tommy around. They're doing a little, I guess it's like intel gathering. Alan says, "Man, we've been following him around for hours now, and all we found out that he really likes carrots and Asian porn."
Yeah. I wanted to put two things together that like should not go together, but you could discover over the course of a day that somebody was into. Like I needed them to be disparate, and as you get further into the film, you find out Tommy's kind of a weirdo. Like Tommy is kind of an off-kilter character, and you see that when they finally, spend some time with him. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, Tommy's kind of a weird guy, and I needed to set that up. Also, I think it calls back to the carrot gag later because the carrots come up again.
They do, and it's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so it was a setup for that too.
One thing that really came out of nowhere, and there's got to be an inside joke amongst these guys as to why they made this joke, because it's funny, but it seems like it could go deeper, and that was when John talks about his bruise. You have a dick-shaped bruise on your knee.
Yep.
Do you have a story behind that?
Oh yeah, that really happened to me.
Oh really?
That really happened to me. I don't remember what it was. The Canadian friend I mentioned before, my buddy Steve, he had said something goofy to me outside. I wasn't really mad at him, but I was like pretending to chase after him outside of a friend of ours' apartment. Mm-hmm. And the treads on my shoes were just shit, and I just fell. And because it had been raining outside before, and of course you don't think about that. So I got up and I had a dick-shaped bruise on my knee. I was like, how is that even possible? Like this, there's no logical reason. But I had a very phallic-looking bruise on my knee for about a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, I need to laugh at this because otherwise I'm just going to be mad. So yeah, that was another one that really happened. There's no inside joke there. It was just something funny, and I was like, someday I'll use this for a script, and then I did.
All right. So one thing on this podcast I want to talk about is how stress is dealt with on set. Because I think every film, no matter how big or small, you can plan all you want, but as soon as you get a camera in your hand, or you're behind the camera, or you're telling people what to do, there's a little bit of anxiety, sometimes small, sometimes huge. That goes with it. How did you handle it?
I was really, really calm throughout the entire making of the film, externally. The reason being that I really believe that a director is the captain of the ship, and they have to keep it together no matter what's happening. Because if they don't, everybody else is going to freak out. So, and it was my money, so I literally could not afford for that to happen. The Ed Colon, who's a wonderful comedian, the guy who played the pimp in the film, was having a lot of trouble remembering his lines and shooting his scene. And I was really, really just patient with him, and we worked through it over and over, and eventually I got what I needed out of him. And after we were done shooting, it was like 2:00 in the morning or something in Ybor, and he was like, how are you so calm? And I was like, man, because I have to be. Like, I can't yell at you guys. That's not going to help. I was like, somebody has to lead, and that leader has to be cool and calm under pressure. They can't freak out. You have to have a level head at all times. For me, the big thing about that is that when I was in high school, my senior year, I was the assistant director for the musical that year. I never acted in them. I always acted in the straight plays, and I did crew and stuff for the musicals. And finally, my senior year, I AD'd. And there's a reason I'm telling you this story. It's not just a random segue. And the cast and crew at various points throughout the show, they were like mutinying against the director, the choreographer. Like, he just could not keep it together. And I told myself, I was like, as a director, you can't let that happen. Because he would get mad. He would get mad, and then other people would be like, oh, we can push this further. And I learned my lesson. I was like, you can't ever give people that window. Because there are certain people on set sometimes that will take advantage. that think that they're the director or think that they are allowed to usurp your authority. So I think you really have to be firm. Like, if I had an issue with somebody, I would pull them to the side and speak with them privately. Like, I'm never going to scream at you on set unless you're like hurting somebody, but I'll fire you. Like, I'm not going to make a big thing out of it, but I will pull you to the side if you're being difficult and be like, you need to go. So I think stress management on set is that you have to just work extra hard to not lose your shit. You can't. You just can't do it because people won't want to work with you. They won't want to work with you again. Tampa's a really small filmmaking community, and the last thing I want to do is have word get around that the Castri's a loose cannon. He'll scream. It's not somebody you can work with. So, but you also can't tolerate disrespect. That's the other thing too. So there's a really careful balance.
So someone disrespects you on set. How did you handle that?
I literally pulled them to the side and was like, you can't do that. Like, literally, you can't do that again or you're gone. I was like, we're allowed to have disagreements, but like, we're not doing this in front of everybody else. Like, that's not going to happen. Or if an actor was difficult, I pulled them aside and be like, look, you need to get your shit together. Like, we have a job to do here. My crew got paid, but my cast did not, other than Linnea and Ed. So I had to be a little more genteel with the actors because they were literally volunteering. But either you show up or go home. You can't waste people's time on a set. You can't. It's too expensive, and psychologically, it's just way too damaging for everybody involved. So, and 90% of directing really is casting. So, I was very lucky. I had a minor issue with my DP that we resolved really quickly, and then one of my leads was difficult to work with, and I won't say who, but there was a lot to deal with there, but we worked through it. We ultimately got through it. So I think it's profoundly important to not keep a level or to keep a level head.
When you get into this in business, and when you get into when you want to make movies, you think everyone's gonna like have this beautiful harmony, and sometimes it's like wrangling cats.
Yeah, I was lucky again in that I'd had directorial experience in both film and theater, so I knew how to work with actors already. I was comfortable with that. And then as far as the crew goes, sound needed to record sound, right? So like I told them, like, get what you need to get. Like, if I'm doing something wrong or a cast member's doing something wrong, you tell me. Your job is to get good sound that we can use. That's the only thing I care about from you. So whatever I can do or the other team members can do to make your life easier, you tell me. So, I really gave the technical members of my crew tremendous leeway to get done what they needed to get done. Because that's not my area of expertise. My job is to tell a story. And really, you divorce yourself from the ego of it. I'm not a sound mixer, so I'm not going to tell you how to record sound. I'm not a DP. I'm not going to tell you how to light the scene. Like, I'm going to tell you the scene needs to look like this. These things need to happen. It needs to look and sound professional. So me and my fellow actors are going to perform the scene to the best of our ability. I'm going to tell you where to put the camera, but you need to get the sound right, and you need to shoot this correctly. So whatever we need to do to be working together, just tell me, and we'll get it done. So that was really how we made that work. You got to trust your team. That's what it comes down to. Have to trust your team.
Hire good people and trust them.
Yes. If you hire a good cast and a good crew ahead of time, life will be so much easier down the road.
So what was post-production like?
I had a wonderful editor and two really great post-production sound mixers, Devin Payne, who did the editing, and then Olivia Klein and Hamdallah Marmash, who were our post-sound people, and lovely human beings, each and every one of them.
No horror stories?
No. Professionals.
Oh, really?
No, absolute professionals, wonderful, warm people. Would work with them again in a heartbeat.
Awesome.
They were great. Was very lucky there. Really, really lucky.
How long did that take?
I am trying to think. I want to say a month and a half, maybe. Because Devin got through it very quick. It wasn't a hard movie to edit. We did have to do some ADR. And getting everybody's schedules to line up for that was kind of challenging. So that was a big issue for us. So I want to say a month and a half, give or take.
That's really good. Usually post-production can go on for a while.
Yeah, no, it definitely can. And again, I was extremely fortunate to work with people who really knew what they were doing.
Let's step away from the film for a second and just get into you as a person who makes movies, and we kind of touched. Usually, like to ask what movie got people into making movies, and you kind of said that was Jay and Silent Bob, which
I mean, Clerks specifically, but yeah.
Well, I think Jay and Silent Bob was one that interested you, and then you said Clerks was the one that convinced you that you could do it. Kevin Smith's probably really happy to hear that if he ever heard it.
I hope he does, man. I was at a Q&A that he was at the Tampa Improv, and the host was bringing the mic around, and he brought it to our table, and I wanted it so bad, and he gave it to this drunk bitch who, instead of asking a question, proceeded to stand up and cry and monologue about George Carlin. And I was just like, what is going on? Yeah, exactly. And Kevin had to come off the stage, come down and like hug her like a thunder shirt to calm her down. It was so obnoxious. And the whole time I'm giving her boyfriend a death stare, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, she completely wasted our whole question for the table. And I had a legitimate one. So yeah, I'm not bitter.
Not at all. I can't even tell.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up because I like to keep it an hour, but we like to ask a few questions near the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see, what is in your opinion, what is the greatest movie of all time?
If I have to pick the greatest movie of all time, for me, it's Casablanca.
Casablanca?
Yeah, I just there's nothing about that movie that doesn't work for me. I don't know why.
Is that also your favorite movie?
No, my favorite movie would be Clerks.
Clerks? Okay.
Casablanca, I think, is as close as we're ever going to get to seeing a truly perfect film.
Oh, okay.
So make of that what you will.
So usually I ask people, what should I go out to the theaters and see right now? But we don't have theaters right now, which is kind of scary.
It really is. I hope they come back.
Yeah, it bothers the heck out of me. So what should our listeners and viewers rent on VOD right now, if it's not your movie?
I came across a really good indie a couple of months ago. It's called Two Step.
Two Step?
Yeah, it's a really fun little indie thriller. Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder also did a movie called Destination Wedding.
I saw that one.
Fucking loved. It's a little two-hander, and it's so good. They're both so snarky, and it's nice to get to see, like, John Wick be funny, because, like, he hadn't gotten to do it in so long, and he's just delivering these devastating one-liners. And I'm like, oh man, like I forgot you could do this. Like, and they're both so great in it. And it's this wonderfully small little movie, and it's fun. It's really good. Like, go check it. It's 80 minutes. Like, it's worth your time.
Destination Wedding. I'm gonna second that and say that one's worth your time. That I really enjoyed it. My wife and I are big fans of Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder.
It's so good because it's so minimal. Like, I love movies that are minimal like that, but I still feel like when you watched it, you've had an experience. So yeah, Destination Wedding was great. Like, we're maybe 2 out of 10 people that saw it. My girlfriend and your wife makes 4. Like, but I'm hoping, go watch it. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like the reviews were unfair to it because it's like, what do you want? It's Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder taking a break from making huge movies.
Yeah, and they're having fun, and the script is genuinely funny. I thought so. Yeah, it was good. So I'd say go check those 2 out.
The 2 movies are Two Step and Destination Wedding.
Yes, those would be my recommendation.
So, Michael LiCastri, what is next for you?
Like I said, I've been, querying this sci-fi comedy spec that I wrote around, trying to get somebody to read that. I have a wonderful, wonderful little zombie comedy that I want Jason Mewes to be in more than anything. There is a part where Jesus shows up, and if I can get Jason Mewes to play Jesus in a film of mine, my life would be complete. So, yeah, I want to make that project so bad, but we need investors. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. So if I'm able to find investors.
So we're schlepping scripts and we're trying to raise money for the next project. That's what's next?
Yeah, that's what's next.
All right, so to help with the next project, this question's going to be great. Michael LiCastri, where can we find you online?
You can find me in a bunch of places. I have a Wix website for 1202 Productions, so you can Google that and check that out. I'm on YouTube as 1202 Productions, so feel free to drop by and give us a subscribe. If you have questions about anything you've heard or you'd like to reach me, you can do so at 1202prod. That's 1202 PROD at gmail.com. My film is on Amazon Prime. It is on Streamster, which is on Roku. It's on Plus4, and it's on Distro TV, which is a free website. So the film's in a bunch of places. If you do watch it on Prime, please rate it and review it. The film has a Facebook page. So if you want to reach out to me through that, you can find it and like the page, and I read all those messages. So there are a lot of ways to get a hold of me, but I hope people check that out. I also have a stand-up comedy album out called ADD Hero. So if you Google my name in Bandcamp, or you Google A.D. and then Hero and then my name, it will come up. The album's only $6. It's about half an hour long. So I invite you to check that out as well. And there's a ton of YouTube shorts that are up. Some of my stand-up is on there, which you've mentioned. So I'm all over the place. But I hope people check out The Best Laid Plans. I hope they check out the album. And I hope to hear from some of you at least. Only nice things, though. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, if you didn't like it, like, just please take that somewhere else. So.
All right, Michael, are we going to see you on the Hey You Made Your Movie sophomore edition?
Yeah, absolutely. If the second project, which is entitled Why Won't You Die, gets made, I will definitely let you know.
Why Won't You Die?
Yeah.
It's like
It's
Austin
a really
Powers,
fun
man.
little zombie comedy.
Oh, that's great. That's a great name for that. That's one. You know how you're always looking for the killer title?
Yeah.
That's the killer title, man.
It's a lot of fun. I hope we get to make it.
The man, once again, is Michael LiCastri. The film is Best Laid Plans. Michael, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Carl. This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate the time.
Oh, delicious water. Oh, so good. I was rescued by this nice lady here. Oh, she doesn't want to be on camera. So that's my interview with Michael LiCastri. I found the guy to be pretty positive and upbeat about the whole process of self-financing. Really working with next to nothing, but also still getting a star to be in your movie. It's kind of cool. And it's also important to know that sometimes a star can help sell the movie, can help get distribution. If he didn't have 80s Scream Queen Leanna Quigley, he wouldn't have gotten distribution. Something to think about. If you want to check out more of Michael's work, as well as the films he recommended, I put links below. Before we finish this episode, I have one question for you. Are you an indie director who recently released his or her debut feature film? If so, please email me a link to the film. I want to check it out. Maybe I'll even have you on the show. It'll be a great time, trust me. And if you haven't already, hit that YouTube subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future content. So, for the Hey You Made Your Movie show, I am Carl Diamond. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep making movies, keep writing scripts, keep networking and being proactive about your career. I can't wait to see all the movies you're going to make, but first, you have to make them. I'm going to be in LA real soon. I'm not going to LA. Where are you going? Barstow!